You know you've got a ripper of a villain when you take your mother to see Dune Part 2, and this is a person who introduced me to horror films and loves horror films, but when you see Austin Butler as the villain in this film and you look over and your mum's like, you know you're in for a good ride. And this film made me f***ing thirsty. Hey guys, how you going? Welcome back to a brand new video here on the channel, and today it is going to be a movie review for Denis Villeneuve. I hope I pronounced that correctly. It is the hardest name to pronounce, and I'm sure a lot of people are going to say it's pretty simple, mate, but it's a bit of a tongue twister. It is a movie review for Dune Part 2. Now, there have been multiple reviewers here on YouTube that have been doing the rounds, reviewing the film who got to see it early. There was also an IMAX screening in Sydney a couple of days ago, but as a lot of you know, Chloe and I were in Perth for Chloe's cousin's wedding, but I got to see the film last night at another Sydney premiere at a VMAX cinema. Now, like a lot of films that I review on this channel that are a sequel, sometimes I have to play catch up and watch the first installment. I had to do the same with Dune Part 1, absolutely loved it. I thought it was like one of those epic movies, those bombastic epic movies that just looks beautiful on screen. With Greg Fraser doing the cinematography, who a lot of you know from The Batman, he returns for Dune Part 2. Now again, this is a continuation from Part 1, and we see the character of Paul played by Timothée Chalamet, who continues his journey united with Chani and the Freeman as he seeks revenge on the conspirators who destroyed his family and endeavors to prevent a terrible future that only he can predict. Sounds like a fun time. Now, the hype surrounding this film has been huge. Like, the reviews I've been seeing have been nothing but amazing and stellar, and just this is the reason why people are going back to the movies, and I can safely say I agree with what I have heard, because this film was absolutely stunning, not only from a visual standpoint, but also a hearing standpoint. The sound design, the score, everything just looked immaculate, and I loved every second of this film. Now, it does have a pretty beefy runtime bordering on 3 hours, but to me that 3 hours felt like 45 minutes. I was just that engrossed in what I was seeing up on screen. And like I said, I had to play catch up with Part 1, but my God, I'm just enthralled in this world, and I know that this IP is based on the books. I think there's also there was a continuation. So there are a lot of people there last night at the premiere, friends of mine, that are diehard fans of the novel, and even they walked out saying that was just so well done. Obviously, my recommendation is to see it on the biggest screen possible. I think that was my biggest regret, that I wasn't able to make it to the IMAX screening whilst Chloe and I were away. I would love to see this once again, but this time in IMAX, because it's just so beautiful. And that's what a lot of people have been talking about, is the look of this film. And again, like I said, cinematographer Greg Fraser is back. He did Dune Part 1, he's done The Batman, he's done Arrival. So the guy knows how to frame something. But not only that, each frame in this film, you could do a video essay on. Each frame in this film, you could snapshot, blow up, frame, and hang on your wall. The color is so rich, the details are so sharp, and there is just so much information going on in each frame. Even just like a reactionary shot from a character is filled full of depth and just so much visual information. It's fascinating to watch. I haven't seen something like this in quite a long time. Now let's talk about the cast. The cast is just chock-a-block. You've obviously got Timothée Chalamet, Zendaya, we've got Rebecca Ferguson returning as Paul's mother, we've also got Josh Brolin returning. Austin Butler was my standout in this film. Austin Butler gave me the willies, and just quite frankly, just made me feel uncomfortable. I equate it to when I saw The Dark Knight Rises, and Tom Hardy's up on screen as Bane, and there's that sequence where he's got his top off and he snaps that guy's neck or crushes that guy's neck. Just the way he was framed, he's this tower of strength. I got that anxiety belly watching Tom Hardy's Bane. I also got that anxiety belly watching Austin Butler up on screen as the villain in this film. He's horrifying to look at. I remember tapping Mum on the shoulder and asking her, why am I so freaked out by this guy? And Mum's like, because he doesn't have eyebrows. Don't trust a bastard that doesn't have eyebrows. But like I said at the beginning of this video, there were times where he's playing with knives and he uses it on certain people, and I look over and Mum's just like, and his character just gives you this feeling of dread. He's a psychopath, and it looks like he was having the absolute time of his life. I also got to give major props to Javier Bardem. Like, the guy's just good in anything. I think it's also just his charm, his voice, and he's actually quite funny in this. And I love the religious undertones in this film, and also the first film. I wouldn't exactly call them undertones because it's quite up there and prominent on the screen, but I love the idea of Paul being a prophet or a false prophet. You've got the believers, the non-believers, and how those ideologies clash. We've also got Dave Bautista, Christopher Walken as the Emperor. There was one shot. It's like an establishing shot of Christopher Walken walking into a room as the Emperor, and it's just, I don't know, like, I think because so many people do impressions of him, and I wouldn't say he's a meme, but he's definitely a character in himself. He's such an individual personality. I love it. And he's just kind of just like, the Emperor, Dune, it's nice. Selena. And also the makeup. The makeup in this film is stunning. Like, I love Stellan Skarsgård as the Baron, that beautiful makeup that he is engulfed in, and also Austin Butler's character having his eyebrows covered, his head covered. Just the prosthetic makeup and the costumes in this film, again, are a reason why this film looks so stunning, paired with Greg Fraser's beautiful cinematography, the set design, the color correction, the color grading, everything looks brilliant. There is a shot of Florence Pugh's character wearing this beaded headpiece, and I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't even concentrating on what she was saying. I was just trying to count all the beads, and the intricate work these artisans have put into this film is a testament to why this film is so good. The sound design paired with Hans Zimmer's score is booming, it's unsettling, but then also just hits these religious tones at times with gothic, quiet notions. And the cinema we were in was called VMAX, and if you sit up the front, you really get the booming rumbling of when things are happening, when action sequences are happening, explosions are happening, ships are traveling, and you feel it in your chest like you're at like the drag races. It's incredible. However, I did have a bit of an issue with the pacing of the film. Like I said, it's bordering on 3 hours. I felt like it went for 45, but I feel like it could have been beefed up a bit and gone over the 3 hour mark. I definitely would have welcomed it. Usually, I'm not a fan of a long run time. I think I'm just getting old, but I was so engrossed in it. There were certain scenes that felt very rushed and chopped, and they just had to throw it in there to dump some exposition just for the sake of it. You know, it's kind of like, sir, the ships are coming. Good. And that's it. And then they cut to another scene. I'm like, you could have padded that out a bit. I felt that was just too abrupt, too quick, and you just threw that in there to kind of set it up for the audience. And also regarding the exposition dumping, there is quite a bit sprinkled throughout the film. But again, what I love is that the going gets going when this film starts. We've established all these characters in part one. Granted, there are some new characters in part two, but for the most part, we've got the bulk of these characters established, so we can get straight to the action, and they definitely do in Dune Part 2. So overall, guys, I had the best time with Dune Part 2. Mum enjoyed herself. Mum hasn't even seen Part 1. She goes, there was so much going on. Again, there's so much information to take in with each shot. You could write a video essay with each frame of this film. Each frame has just been beautifully crafted and paired with some wonderful costuming, prosthetic makeup, production design, set dressing, everything. The cast and crew should be commended for the work they've put in. And Denis Villeneuve, who not only directed it but wrote it, you can see he's a hardcore fan of the original source material. This guy is going to go far. And if there is a continuation on from part 2, I'm all for it. And I'm so keen to see where they take these characters and where they take this universe. I would love to see him do Star Wars. It would just be a class act of a film, quite frankly. I'd even love to see him take on the Elm Street franchise. Like, I know it's out of his wheelhouse in terms of like sci-fi and stuff like that, but the guy can do action. I feel like he could definitely do horror, and like classy horror. And granted, at times the editing did seem a little bit choppy with a lot of exposition, and then also just kind of scenes that had to quickly wrap up, and I feel like they could have been padded out a bit. And again, I would have welcomed an over 3 hour runtime. Totally, I was just that engrossed with it. The film just flew by, and with that, I'm going to be giving Dune Part 2 4.5 DeSantis out of 5. Very thirsty. So guys, once you have seen Dune Part 2, drop a comment below. Let me know your thoughts. I'm like going down a rabbit hole now of the production design, the costumes, everything. It's just, again, it was so refreshing. Like, we've had a few bad apples in terms of films that just aren't hitting the mark and just seem slapdash, lazy, and I don't know what the hell you'd call it. But yeah, Dune Part 2, just escapism at its finest. See it on the biggest screen. That's my only regret. But the VMAX cinema was still great. The sound was booming. You're immersed. But I definitely want to go back and see it on an IMAX screen. Love your guts, and I'll catch you in the next one.